Alongside Royden Ogletree.
Hello.
And Royden, Pat Forty released his 25 most intriguing quarterbacks for 2024. And, you know, some of these, you know, like it's Dylan Raiola and Dylan Gabriel and DJU.
Shedeur Sanders.
Like there's intriguing ones. I'm going to cherry pick this list a little bit and talk about some guys.
By the way, this list is all the names that casual college football fans would know, and then like DeQuan Finn.
Yeah. Yes.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Which is not like, those are the most intriguing quarterbacks. But
yeah.
Anyway.
No. Miller Moss at USC, I think, is very intriguing. And the biggest reason is this is a quarterback that, you know, Lincoln Riley had all the Heisman trophies. He's got, you know, he has Kyler, he has Baker, he has Jalen Hurts, who's not a Heisman Trophy winner, but was great in a transfer, and he has Caleb Williams. All four of those guys have something in common. They're all transfers. Now, he did recruit Caleb Williams at Oklahoma, and then he went with him.
It's a little bit of a cheat code.
But, yeah, it's a little bit of a cheat code. But this is going to be the first time that he is entering a season with a quarterback who is, at this point, not on the Heisman radar. Because Baker would have been going into his all the, the arrow was pointed up. That's a total unproven commodity.
Right.
And I even say that knowing Caleb Williams took over as the starter for Spencer Rattler, but Spencer Rattler was one of the most highly touted quarterbacks in recent memory. Now, did he work out to the level of his hype? Not at all.
Mm-mm.
But going into that season with Spencer Rattler as the starter, he was the next guy, and then Caleb Williams was the next guy. And Spencer Rattler didn't happen. Caleb Williams takes over. So this is the first time he's going into the season without the guy.
This is a true blue, old school way of doing the quarterback position. Red shirt for 2 years, or not red shirt, but, you know, he did red shirt and not play for 2 years and then start as a red shirt junior.
Yeah. No, it is.
There's a college football that I know and love back.
Yeah.
22-year-olds are back starting at quarterback.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't watch the Holiday Bowl. Apparently he went off.
Yeah, he played really well. But again, I will caution people, it would be hypocritical of me to put everything onto a bowl game, given some of the stances I've made about last year's Orange Bowl.
Yeah, he threw 6 touchdowns. That's nuts.
Yeah, it was nuts. He had a great game. So he showed potential. And look, I'm big on Avery Johnson, but it was not just the Pop-Tarts Bowl that makes me think that. He had a game that he started last year and scored 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So in the regular season. So I see that Miller Moss is going to be intriguing. If he can repeat that and if they can get in front of people, then USC will be fixed.
Yeah.
But, you know, there's a lot on him. And this is the first time. We'll see how, all right, this is the first time with Miller Moss that you've got kind of the old school way of doing it. Like you said, Lincoln Riley, let's see what you can do. I think there's some pressure there.
It's the same sort of, also on this list, just a few spots down, it's the same sort of thinking with Nico Amaliva, right? Mm-hmm. Like it's, you know, played at the end of the season, played in the bowl game, showed out in the bowl game, from what I understand.
Oh,
yeah, showed out in the bowl game.
He made that Iowa defense look silly.
Yeah. And now it's his turn, where the past quarterbacks have been sort of older, and he is, how old is he now? I'm not quite sure. I think is he a freshman or a sophomore?
Yeah, he'd be I don't know where his red shirt falls, but yeah, this is his second year.
Yeah, so
at Tennessee.
I'm just more interested in him because he's 6'6", 215 pounds.
Runs like a deer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm just interested in that.
Yeah.
Personally. But that's the same sort of thinking with going to a younger up and coming quarterback. Now Miller Moss I think is older and but yeah, same level of experience for two teams that have sort of the same expectations. And now I think that USC is probably going to be worse than what Tennessee is going to be.
Yeah.
But I've been surprised before.
Yeah. Alex Orji at Michigan has not officially been named the starter yet.
Sure.
Jack Tuttle, who's a 7th-year college player. So
what?
Yeah, like Alan Bowman, but Jack Tuttle. Alan Bowman, who was also once at Michigan.
Indeed accounts
I believe
free.
Alan Bowman was the backup for Tom Harmon at Michigan. That's how long he's been in college.
I'm just saying, Indeed accounts are free. You too can go professional in something other than sports.
Look, Enterprise Rent-A-Car. I mean,
We'll take you there.
They'll take you there, and they give you the tools.
Yeah.
But Alex Orji, 6'3", 238, like a big athletic quarterback. And you saw him a little bit last year in certain packages, but he's got to be able to, be an every down quarterback.
I think we talked about it last year. He's something like he's only thrown like 3 passes or something.
Yeah. And look, they didn't have to. Like, J.J. McCarthy, unfortunately, out for the season after he got hurt in his preseason debut, which really sucks. But in that preseason debut, you saw like, oh, this kid can kind of sling the ball around.
Yeah, if told where to go with it, he knows how to put it there.
But also, like, when you don't have to take the driver out of the bag ever, then like that was Jim Harbaugh's philosophy. It was like, I mean, we can drive the green every time if we want, but since we don't have to, we won't. And
they're like no laying up. Jim Harbaugh's like all laying up.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to do that, and I'm going to wear you guys down.
Yeah,
and I'll have my
bars, baby. We're going to be there at the end.
Yeah, I'm going to have my gigantic lines just wear you out.
Yeah,
and Alex Orji should be interesting, but we've seen nothing from him, and the fact that they haven't named him yet makes me a little concerned that they're like, all right, what are we doing here? But if they run that same kind of offense, then maybe
I kind of just want them to just run over everybody.
Yeah.
Do that. He's 6'3", 230 pounds. That's sick. Just him and was it Stewart was the running back? Or who's there?
Corum. Well, now it's Edwards.
Edwards. I don't know Stewart. Yeah, like just run over everyone, man. That's fun. Do that.
Yeah. And then the last two we'll talk about, Jackson Arnold at Oklahoma. Same, like a very similar situation to Avery Johnson in that, Avery Johnson pushed Will Howard to Ohio State.
Yeah.
Jackson Arnold pushed Dylan Gabriel to Oregon. And if he's really as good as advertised, this should be something to watch, but it's still a big jump, to do that and to willingly lose Dylan Gabriel.
I feel like I've been hearing about Jackson Arnold forever.
Yeah, because he was one of the best quarterbacks in Texas.
5-star Texas prospect,
From the time he was a freshman or like late in his freshman year to his sophomore year, people have been talking about him.
Right.
So even though he's only a sophomore at Oklahoma right now,
he's got so much hype to live up. I swear I've been hearing about him for, like you said, for like 6 years.
Yeah. And look, Seth Luttrell takes over as offensive coordinator there for Jeff Lebby.
From North Texas fame.
Yeah. Seth Luttrell is also an Oklahoma alum, so they basically just took like one Oklahoma alum and switched, offensive mastermind with another one. And Seth Luttrell, well, I mean, that should be fun to watch.
Rehabilitation project for Seth Luttrell because he had a lot of promise at that North Texas team, but I think he's a really good offensive coach.
You know what I think happened to Seth Luttrell at North Texas? The rules changed.
What do you mean?
Like, when
they couldn't pay anybody?
No, that and the fact that like all of a sudden, good players that, because of transfer rules would just stay at North Texas because they're like, well, I don't want to sit out a year and all this.
Yeah.
Like all of a sudden they don't have to sit out a year and you can just go get them.
Mm-hmm.
And, you spend most of your day walling off like, no, Texas, you cannot have my linebacker.
Right.
And then the linebacker's like, they can give me, and they also said I can have this much money, and they're like, that's more money than this whole city of Denton. God, I can't, we can't just do that. I've talked to a couple coaches who are at that level who, when they say like their basic thing is this school offered me this much money, and he's like, man, I wish I could keep you. I wish I could keep you here. It sucks. I'm going to be sad, but
we can give you Shipley's Donuts for a year.
You got to go. Like, basically it's like, no, go take that money, take that opportunity. We can't give that to you here. I want to have you, but go. Like, I'll be like, I heard a coach told me very recently, he told a kid who was like, I really don't want to go. And he's like, I'll be mad at you if you stay.
That's pretty altruistic.
Like one of the things, like, look, the whole time you're going to be here, I'm going to feel guilty that like you gave up this much.
You didn't set up your family in this way.
Like this could be for 2 years, man. You're going to get this much money. Go and get it. And that guy's
it's a tough position. I mean, good for that guy to being like I said, it's an altruistic stance to actually do that. A kind-hearted stance to actually do that. But I feel like that'd be few and far between for a lot of those guys. Anyway.
Yeah. And finally, we're going to wrap it up with the one that controls Royden's emotions, his joy, the way he'll feel about himself in part.
Unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean,
you
feel like sports fans, it's true. You do when your team is not good. You feel a little worse about yourself, even though you had nothing to do with it.
It had zero to do with it. And in fact, I'll never have anything to do with it. But for some reason or another, I feel
your
like
self-esteem is hurt.
Yeah. My personality is based around how these 20-year-old kids play.
But I've been days where like when the Red Sox have had like a bad stretch, like when they play the Astros, and they can't beat them. They just can't, no matter what happens. But
darn.
But I'll have I've had days in my life, especially during like years after the Red Sox won the World Series and they're just not as good.
Yeah.
Where I'm like in a bad mood and I can't figure out why I'm sad. And then I trace it back to the Red Sox blew a save last night and they did it like for the 5th time in like the last 10 games. And then I'm like, well, I had nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
Like I have to remind myself, like, I had literally nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
My life is no different other than I'm mad about this thing I have zero control over, even though I would love to have control over it. But, Eric Gagne can't ruin my mood today.
Right.
Like that's...
Well, somebody tweeted a video of this, and it was like, me after my team loses 1 of 17 in the NFL. All right, we'll get him next week. Me when Kenley Jansen blows another save. What is going on? I hate this team.
Yeah.
1 of 162. Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I could make good money with going to each team and finding the player that every team has a player that everybody hates.
Yeah.
No matter what it is, like if it's the quarterback, if it's, the ace pitcher who's just not been an ace pitcher, the first baseman who can't field anything or hit, like for Astros until recently.
The ire of Jose Abreu.
It would have been like, Jose Abreu can't hurt me today.
Yeah.
Like just for that's your mantra.
Yeah.
I bet you we'd make a lot of money on that.
Can't strike out
who's
5 times.
Who's the one that makes you sad the most?
Yeah.
And that's the shirt. But to get to that, DeQuan Finn has been named the starter at Baylor. The rollout of said information I'm less than pleased with, but I'm going to leave it there. Yeah. So I'll tell you after the show.
Okay, cool.
But
Patreon content.
Yeah. But DeQuan Finn, look, they came and got him to be the starter. He should have been the starter.
There's never a question. I don't know why we do this.
Yeah, and I know that there was some tug of war of who's having the good day, but lately DeQuan Finn's been getting the overwhelming majority of the first team reps. So it's been for the last week or so, maybe even more, that he's gotten the first team reps, the most of them, including I think almost all of them in the most recent scrimmage. So this is going to be interesting because he does have a lot to do with whether Dave Aranda is back or not.
Yeah, I mean, if he, Travis Roeder put out a really good point in that he is going to run around and make plays where they will win games be off of the back of his talent alone. I think he's that talented. They will also probably lose games because he'll fall down and throw an interception because he's running around scrambling for his life. They just needed a guy, and his scrambling ability is probably almost second to none of any other quarterback in college football, really. Has 500 to 600 scramble yards or rushing yards every single year, which is hard to do for quarterbacks because I don't know if you know, they still take the sack yards off when you get sacked for some reason. Anyway, they're going to need it because I kind of think their offensive line is still going to stink regardless. Sorry to those kids. I just don't think they're going to be they may be better than last year, but that's, a step up from zero.
Yeah.
And so I think, they're going to need a guy that can run around and make plays and extend plays. His accuracy is, maybe to be questioned, but it was Sawyer Robertson going to be that much more accurate. That is yet to be seen. I like the idea if you can keep Sawyer Robertson, letting him sit for one more year, and if it sticks around this Spavital offense, and then throwing him to the Wolves when he's a senior and he has all this under his belt and he can go out there and make plays, because I do think he's a talented quarterback. I just think DeQuan Finn, he's a fifth-year starter. You were always going to bring him in. You probably paid a good penny to bring him in to be the starting quarterback. The song and dance of we don't know who's going to start is was always kind of silly to me, unless he was just bad. But I never saw a thing where that happened. Go watch some of his tape. It's all the games are on YouTube. He really does go and just makes plays out of structure when things break down. And I think it'll be really, really fun to watch in this offense, and probably brings another element with read options that Robertson wasn't going to do. All that being said, it may not matter because the talent may also just not be there.
Yeah. The offensive line's the biggest key.
Yeah. So he will not necessarily dictate my happiness when I see 4-on-4 winning versus that offensive line, and he can't do anything about it. But I will say there will be a game where they are up. I just couldn't call it this year. There will be a game where they are up, and he's scrambling for his life and falls down and throws it to a defensive lineman, and it starts a rally for the other team.
Yeah.
That just is going to happen, and preparing Baylor fans for it now. Hopefully it doesn't. Hopefully I'm wrong, but I know that I'm right.